Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
No problem. I'm sorry we missed each other yesterday, and then we ran late today. But you're my last one, so we don't have to. You don't only have 10 minutes.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm very glad to be able to do this. This is an interview I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm glad that we get to do that, talking about some new Armored Saint coming out. It's October 23rd.
Right on. I'm ready for that.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, the new album, Punching the Sky. I've gotten the chance to be able to check this out ever since Friday, and I just love where you guys are at right now in 2020. I mean, every album just feels like it's a great another chapter in the band, and this one, it's just like it feels updated enough, but it still has that great classic sound that the band always has. And again, it's just another killer Armored Saint album.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it reached that. That's certainly a goal we're trying to get to. So I'm glad that's a connection that's being made. That's great.
Oh, totally. So with that in mind, I mean, what was it like to start writing for the new album?
Well, we made the decision to start. Hey, maybe we should just start writing. We're not a band that does very much writing at all while we're touring or while we're away from home. I personally work best when I can close one door and open another door. So once we decided we were kind of going to be done with touring cycles, let's say, that's when I'd started to start fooling around writing. And, this one was done much in the way that the last couple have been done. And that is that we try not to really think too much or discuss too much about what we're going to do. We really want things to happen naturally and be super organic. So this one was no exception. We really just, like I think I stated in the bio, it's and it sounds stupid, but it's really true that we just want to write good music. Like, I don't really want to think about anything else as far as how are we going to live up to the last record, or should it be heavier than the last record, or should the songs be more adventurous, or should we try to concentrate on getting on the radio, or like those conversations do not take place. And we just want to write music a little bit selfishly, like what we think are going to be really good Armored Saint songs. Now, having said that, part of my MO is always, kind of like keeping a little corner of my eye on where we come from. What people that have been fans of ours for a long time, what they come to expect from us in a certain way. And one, that part of that corner is also keeping an eye on where our tradition lies, the early part of our career and what we've done up until now, basically. Now, in that same breath, I'll also tell you that I don't want to dwell on that area either. I don't want to feel like I'm obligated to make a record that people are expecting from us. I don't want to feel obligated it has to be, have a connection to our past. I don't want it to feel like that. I need it to feel like I'm moving forward in an opposite direction. So this is a line that I try to straddle that is not always easy, to be honest with you. But I really need to let it all kind of hang out naturally. So once I get a few ideas rolling, John and I, which are the chief songwriters here, we have a few conversations about this same thing, but we try not to overanalyze or overthink or over-discuss too much. We just want to be able to have the freedom to make the music that we want to make. And in the end, we still want it to sound like an Armored Saint song. The only things that we really do are like, let's not be afraid of taking some chances here and there. We say that every record, though. Like, we like diversity in the records we make, so we kind of always egging each other on, like, let's, diversity, without being, stupid, So we try to do it in a context that fits within what this sort of parameters that we're well aware of, So that's really how it starts. And then it starts with one or two songs usually, and it usually starts to snowball right after that, which it did. We just got on a roll and started writing these songs, and one just kind of rolled right after the other until we were done.
And you covered so much ground when you were talking about the album just now too, and I love the thought process that goes into it, making sure it can be as natural and organic as possible, because when you try to make an album sound one way, it's never going to turn out the way that you think it's going to. So when you just lay everything out there, see what's going to fit for the band, what's not going to fit for the band, try it out, experiment, that's such a great way to be able to go about it. And that's how you get a song like Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, which I think is just an amazing epic start to the album. And then you have songs that kind of a bit of a throwback to the band too, like with Fly in the Ointment and Never You Fret, but there's like so much ground that's being covered and it still sounds like Armored Saints. And I think you couldn't do that unless it was that natural organic process.
Yeah, and this is something that's very conscious to me since sometime around 2010 when we were making La Raza, when we were writing that record. I just sort of has light bulbs were going off in my head. And part of this, I sort of realized that we had this kind of freedom to do this. And I say, well, where does this freedom come from? Well, it comes from a few places. One is that we have the great support of our record label, Brian Slagle and Metal Blade Records, that allows us to make records. The music, they would allow us to write the music that we want to write, and they allow us to do it when we want to do it. We can set our own schedule. We can do this when we truly feel inspired. We're not like one of their top selling bands, that there's so much at stake for, So we're comfortable with that, believe me, because this freedom we have to be able to work in this way, it's just the best thing ever. We don't ever have to feel like we're obligated to stay on the schedule for, you made a record, now you go on tour for X amount of months, you come back, immediately start writing a new record, record that next record, go back out, do it again, go back out, do it again. And we're not in that machine. We are in a different machine. And so having that freedom is such a weight off our backs. And simultaneously, I've come to realize right around 2010 that we were a band that in the early days, we were kind of part of that machine. We were on a major label, Chrysalis Records, and that was the status quo. You made a record, go on tour, come back, label says, okay, record sales have stopped, back to write the next record, do it again, do it again, do it again. We got caught up in the machine. We also got a little bit pigeonholed as to where we fit in stylistically. There was the heavy metal scene started to splinter in the 80s. You had thrash metal that went one way, then you had glam and hair bands that went the other way. And we were comfortable playing with the thrash bands. We were comfortable playing with the hair bands, but we didn't really belong in either one. We were kind of stuck in the middle, and that kind of got in the way of how we saw ourselves, especially during Raising Fear. I think that we started to overthink and overanalyze what we were as a band and the songs that we were writing, and I think it affected the music. This is my perception of it. So right around, fast forward to around 2010, and I'm kind of looking back at our career and looking at all the records we've made, and I'm kind of saying to myself, why did we even worry about that? Like, we've always done our own thing. Like, even our first record has some diversity on it, March of the Saint, which is maybe our most juvenile of all our records. And this is who we are. We're just a band that's kind of on our own island. Now, couple that with this freedom that we have to work in this way that, the label has allowed us to go this way. And I also should mention the fans have gone along with us, and most of them have accepted our challenges. Sometimes we write challenging music and we take chances, and sometimes it's unexpected for people, but our fans have allowed us to do that as well and grown with us. So combine all those things together, it's like this perfect storm for us. So we are in this place now where we can let things happen supernaturally, and I think that I could be wrong, but it seems to me that people over the last two records of ours since 2015's Win Hands Down, they really can sense the honesty in what we're doing, and I think that's a powerful thing. When you can put on a record and sense that these guys are being honest, it's a honesty. That situation is very intangible, but the fact that you can get something tangible out of it is pretty amazing to me. So I don't know. I'm glad that people like yourself express it in that way, because it is intentional. This is intentional. We are being honest, and this is this is what we're doing, and we're glad we're having a connection.
Oh yeah, and bringing it back to what you were talking about with that too. I mean, the only chance that I've been able to see Armored Saint live was a few years back at Prog Power USA when you guys were able to play that great show that you guys were able to do. And I never thought I was going to really be able to see you guys because I know you don't tour that often all over. Because I live in Minnesota, and I know that's not always a hit spot for a lot of U.S. tours. So I was very happy to go down to Atlanta and see you guys. And considering all the bands that were on that bill of all different power metal and progressive metal, I never really associate Armored Saint with either one of those. But when I saw you guys play that night, it fits so perfectly together in that live setting. You guys brought something so different to it, but you can hear like how power metal fans would like it, how progressive fans would be able to enjoy it. And like you were mentioning, like on the thrash side and the glam side in the 80s, like there's a little bit of both going on there as well. And the fact that you can adapt to all these different kinds of situations while being yourselves, that's why you guys are always one of my favorite bands, is because you can do that while being yourself.
Well, thank you. And like I said, it took us a long time to look at ourselves in the mirror and smile about that. There was a period of time in the beginning, like I just said, that we felt sort of a little bit lost and like, where do we fit in? We want to fit in with both sides, but we just didn't. But the thing is we should have just embraced that we were center. We were just our own thing. And that's a great thing for us to have. And we acknowledge it now, and we try to capitalize on it, and we're certainly embracing it. We were growing up in the 70s. We were big fans of bands that were diverse. Bands like Thin Lizzy, probably one of the biggest influences on me. And Thin Lizzy records are super diverse. And the same thing with bands like UFO or Queen. Those are some of the top bands that are my favorites still to this day. And granted, we're not trying to be Queen or we're trying to be UFO necessarily, but just the fact that you can have diversity and present it in a way where, it appeals to more than one thing is it's super gratifying.
Oh, it truly is. And I'm such a huge fan of that too, when just the band being themselves. And there are bands that are being themselves where they want to be able to pinpoint on one style and be known for what they do in one particular area. But when a band is able to adapt to those situations and they're able to really get that sense of being able to experiment, be themselves, and it's successful where you can continue on being a band, it's just so great to see that. Especially like you said in the 70s, like with Queen and Thin Lizzy. I mean, all of those albums, they can range from the heavy to the ballads to the mainstream rock songs. I mean, you got everything that you would want in that kind of music. And, it's just obviously in a different way with you guys. I mean, it's great to be able to see that continuing on, especially with Punching the Sky, because it's got a little bit of everything that's going on there and it all fits together. And I think a lot of that has to do with the track listing as well, too. With the order that it's in, it feels so good to listen to it from start to finish the way you guys got it.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's always part of it too, is making the sequence work. It was a tough thing to do because I hadn't really thought about it all that much along during the process, and it's not until the very end that you got to start making those decisions. And I'm like, I don't know. What do we do? But I enjoy the flow of the record, and in the end, I always try to look at it as if you're going to a rock concert and you're going to see this thing played in its entirety. So I like the fact that there's valleys and hills and ups and downs, and I like that it moves in that way. So that's really the actual design of it is meant to take you up and down without staying in a lull too long or staying in a high too long either. So.
Oh, and I totally hear that too. Like, when shows get back at some point, I mean, if you only did this album, it feels like a set list going on there. I mean, you got like the intro and then first track with Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, and then you go right into a great single like you got with End of the Attention Span, and then you go all the way through it, and Never You Fret feels like a great fast song to be able to close out that set. And it's great to be able to see that conscious effort went into the album.
Yeah, that's all that stuff's important to me. Everything is, from the track listing to the production to even the artwork. I view records as a piece of art, and I've always have. Every single record we've done to me is a piece of art, and I like to see it that way. So I think all those things have to be intertwined somehow, and it's important to represent that overall picture.
Oh, very very much so. So, with that in mind, I mean, obviously, we still live in the day and age where singles are important to be able to get the name out of the album. I mean, what was it like to be able to have End of the Attention Span be that first taste off the new album?
Well, I think it was it turned out to be a good decision. I think because it really resonated quickly with people. You know, I'll be honest with you. We were on the fence about what the first single should be. Initially, I thought that I wanted Standing on the Shoulders of Giants to be the first single. I think I was just relying on the fact that, for number one, it's one of my favorite songs on the record. It's super epic and great. It's the first song on the record, which maybe is a tendency to just have When Hands Down was the opening track on the last record as well. It was also our first single. So a few things were in play. I wanted to do something different. We wanted to say, well, why should the first track be the first single? It was the same. We did that on the last record. Let's take a chance and do something other than that. The other thing was that Standing on the Shoulders of Giants is a long song. It's almost 7 minutes. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. The first Tool single was pretty long. Bob Dylan's first single was, 17 minutes or something? It's crazy. So there's no rules anymore. But the other thing was, When Hands Down was, it's a great song. It's got kind of this, I don't know, it's got kind of a Thin Lizzy thing about it, and it's a really upbeat song. Pretty simple, but it also has this really strange middle section. So it's got a little bit of a thrash part in the middle, and then it's got this weird jazzy thing, which is completely off the wall, actually. But I think the whole thing works as a song, but, it's a little bit adventurous as a first single. It was successful, though. It was a great first single, and people love that song. It's like a live mainstay now. But this time, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants is almost the same song. It's a little bit adventurous. It's long, and it's very epic, and it's got a great chorus, of course, but it's a little bit out of the norm of what you might think a first single is, especially coming from Arvid Singh. So the next thing was, well, let's kind of give people what we think they want to hear, because we don't really know what people want to hear. But maybe a song like At the End of the Attention Span is more of a grab 'em by the balls song, And so that's why we decided to go with that song. And it turned out to pay off great. We made a great video with a guy that we met, Robert Mestas, and he just did a great job of making the first video. I think it represents the song great. And people seem to really love the song. So that's kind of how that came about.
Oh, it's great to be able to think about that process from so many different ways, too. And being a huge prog fan myself, and being the prog fan that I am, I would have loved to have seen Standing on the Shoulders of Giants be that first single, because, I mean, I love the longer songs. I love those epic, grandiose songs. And, obviously being able to start the album off with a 7-minute song like that, I mean, it might throw off some people, but, it's just, if you take that adventure and see where that song goes, it's so great. But again, flipping the coin and having End of the Attention Span be that first taste off the album, it shows that great, heavy, fast style that the band is so great at being able to do, and just being able to grab people and get their attention. So, I think it's, just thinking about that again with the track order, I love that you're starting off with that song and then being able to go to End of the Attention Span, because I think that's going to be able to grab a lot of people and show that you are just more capable than doing one style or another. If they've been off the track for a while, I think that can really bring them back in.
Yeah, I think the other advantage that you just brought up a little bit is the advantage of having At the End of the Attention Span be the first thing people hear from this record, is that there's a certain aspect of familiarity about it. There's a parts of it that people recognize. It sounds like something maybe they've heard us do before stylistically. So hearing John sing, and then hearing the way that this guitar riff is being played, it might remind them of something. Oh, this kind of reminds me of old school Armored Saint. So right away you've got their, pardon my pun, attention. But and so that's an aspect that's in our advantage in that sense. I think Standing on the Shoulders of Giants is a great opening track, because I think that, again, speaking artistically and as a piece of art, I think that it represents the record as a whole. It's like giving you the the theme, as it were, for the rest of what you're about to hear. So I would never think of not putting that as the opening track. It's funny because speaking about this, I remember a conversation which turned into a friendly argument between John and I. John wanted to open the record with "Missile the Gun." For the longest time, he kept telling me, and I'm like a bull, like a stubborn bull, and I'm like, I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing it, you know? And so this idea to me that you put your fastest, not your fastest, but one of your fastest, or if not your fastest, upbeat songs as the opening track. Like, why does it always have to be like that, you know? Why do we always have to have the fast song be the opening song? I feel like that's a little bit too expected, and it makes it feel trite. And I don't want to do that. Let's take a chance. Put the fucking longest song we have as the opening track. And at first he was like, "You're crazy. Like that's just like it's a death knell, you know?" But I said, "Trust me. It sets the flavor from what else is to come." And I hope I'm right. I mean, people haven't heard the record yet, except for the press and yourself. But I'm hoping that it works in that way that I seemingly designed it.
Well, I definitely see it that way. And again, maybe it's because I am the prog fan that I am. I'm able to understand what you're going for with that. And I love the way that turns out, you know, kind of has like that intro feel to it, and then it gets into the grand scale of the song, and it just has this great feel behind it. Then you get into the more upbeat stuff that's going on there. I think it's like a great way to be able to build that up. And I really do love the fact that, Missile to Gun is in the middle of the album, you know, because I think about that with a lot of albums that came out in the 80s. You always start with the fastest track, then you have the single, then you have either the mid-tempo or the ballad, then you have the ballad or the mid-tempo song, and then the rest of it seems to kind of like go in any order they want to, because that's just the other half of the album. And I mentioned it so much, but it is so true with this album. It has that great ebb and flow throughout that makes you want to listen from start to finish. And that track listing, the way that you got it on there, is such a way to be able to grab an attention like myself, and hopefully so many others too, and just really pay attention to everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, that's great. You know, I'm glad I'm glad to hear that. So that's good. You know, I mean, I know that sometimes our records can be challenging to listen to at first, especially at first listen. You know, we like I said before, we don't fit into we don't fit into any category necessarily. You know, we kind of do our own thing. So every record is like a little bit unexpected. And some even diehard fans, they will come to me and they say, you know, it really takes me like 10 listens or so before I really get it. But once they get it, they fucking get it. They get it, every note and every lyric, you know. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that it can be challenging, you know. But I certainly try to facilitate it by having having a good track listing.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I think another thing that's so great that you guys are paying attention to that detail from is not just the audio and the amazing production work that you were able to do. I forgot to mention that. You did such an excellent job behind the boards with this album. But I love... Oh, of course. I love the album artwork that's going on here too. It just, again, it has that grandiose feel behind it. I mean, you see like the fire and the storms in the sky that's going on. I mean, it makes it seem like it's a very heavy album when you look at it, but then once you get into it, you see all the diversity that's going on there. And I just love the way that it looks.
Yeah, we're really happy with it too. I found this guy on Instagram, believe it or not. Instagram's got to be good for something, right? But this amazing artist out of the UK named Steve Stone, and we hit him up like right when the COVID thing hit. So like everyone was suddenly out of work, you know. And we went to him and I said, hey, you know, I know things are probably crazy where you're at, but we're a heavy metal band from Los Angeles. And he goes, oh, I know who you guys are. And so he's like, I'm going to do this. I don't care that we're in lockdown or work from home or whatever. And he took the job on, and he's a great artist. He does tons of stuff, tons of like really big commercial stuff. But he has this other side stuff that he does that's really sort of like dark and sort of H.R. Geiger style, and it's just really, really cool. And so got him involved, and I came to him with this concept, and he ran with it and turned it into this amazing piece of art. So we love it. It's really cool. There's a poster of it too, like a big fold-out poster that comes in the LP version, which looks just amazing because the piece of art is actually quite large. It's larger than actually what you see on the CD, but so the poster kind of shows the whole. It's super epic, and it just looks amazing.
Oh, that's just so great to hear that too. And I was thinking about that as well too. Like even just the vinyl version of that, just being able to see that full LP of just the album cover is just going to look incredible when that comes out. And knowing that there's even more to the artwork with the poster when you open that up, I think that's just going to be so cool to see and hang up.
I agree. That's why we put it in there, so fans could get that stuff out of there and put it on their walls. I mean, I grew up in the 70s, and for me, the whole experience of listening to music involved holding it in your hand and looking at it and just being in awe of the album artwork. And it's pretty large. I mean, it's LPs are much larger than CDs, obviously. So that's what I miss about the whole experience of first listening to music and exploring new bands that you've never heard before. Just the whole ritual of opening the album sleeve and taking the vinyl out and putting it down. First side ends, you got to stop what you're doing and turn it over. You're engaged. And unfortunately, people aren't as engaged anymore as they used to be in the 70s. And so the ability to be able to put out records as how I remember the experience is, again, like... I'm glad our label has such amazing packages available for fans, because a lot of people are starting to buy vinyl again, which I think is great. I love it. We're all super proud of all the pieces of product. It's totally killer.
Oh yeah, and thinking about that with that 70s mindset, I mean, all the way even up to the early 2000s for myself, especially, like being able to go to a record store and just being able to check out albums in the metal section or the rock section, and checking out names that I never heard of before, but just loving the artwork so much, it made me want to go and buy it and see what that was all about. And I think this is just one of those album covers, like for those that really do care about the music, that want to be able to go out and buy vinyl. I think once they see this Armored Saint LP in the record stores, like even if they're kind of familiar with the name, I think the album artwork alone is going to be enough to bring people in and check out the album.
Yeah, I hope you're right. That's part of the reason why you want to have cool artwork, is you want to stoke their interest. So yeah, I hope you're right.
Yeah, and with that too, that's also one of the biggest downfalls to me when it comes to the internet age. I mean, obviously it's great to be able to have pretty much all of the world's music at your fingertips, but the fact that album artwork is pretty much a thumbnail now, especially when there's so much work that goes into it. I mean, it feels like such an injustice to be able to see this amazing artwork just scaled down to just a little thumbnail when you're searching for music.
Yeah, we could go on about this in other ways too, with the way people get music, period. No one takes chances on albums anymore. The biggest chance you're going to take is buying the single, and you're going to listen to it on your little earbuds, listen to this MP3 that just sounds terrible, and that's your experience, It's just really, it's a bummer, but it's the way it is. You can't do anything about it. It's just how people are engaging with music for the most part these days. But what can you do? The only thing you can do is what we're talking about, is offer other things for people that really do care about it, to give them the experience of what we remember growing up. If I could only get them to buy a nice pair of headphones or something, that would be cool too. I mean, when I'm mixing these records and I'm producing these records, I listened 100% on headphones, and that's my experience with music. Is growing up in the 70s, I listened to headphones a lot, putting on an LP and closing my eyes, and I liked stuff floating around in the mix, left to right, hearing things pop up. You hear this stereo spectrum, things bouncing off, and to me it's really interesting as a listener. So I try to push that off onto our fans as much as possible. Engage in this the way that I remember I engaged in it.
Oh, absolutely. And in speaking of that engagement, I mean, for yourself, I mean, it's great to see that this album is coming out at the end of October. You know, right before the holidays are coming in, and just a couple weeks later, there's the new Fates Warning that's going to be coming out as well too. I'm very excited to be able to hear that, and it's really cool to see with yourself. You got just a couple weeks between albums coming out.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. I think that's the first time that's ever happened, and as long as I've been doing this, for sure. Like I said, maybe I didn't say, I can't remember, I did a few interviews today, but I went straight from, I finished, I handed off the mixes to Jay Rustin for the Armored Saint record sometime around March 18th. I drove the hard drives over to him, handed them off, and mind you, this was right when LA went in lockdown, so everyone was on lockdown, but I had to start mixing the record, so I sent him, gave him the hard drives, and then literally I came home, and a couple days later, I started working on the Fates Warning record. And so I was recording that from late March until the end of April, all the while taking breaks, approving mixes coming to me from Jay. So April was a super busy month. Let me just put it that way. And but yeah, it's cool. We're excited about the Fates record too. It's a really good record. It sounds the mix and the production's really great. It's mixed by Joe Barresi, and everybody played great. Jim and Ray wrote some amazing songs, and it's cool. People are going to be really stoked on that too, so we're excited about that.
Oh, I'm so excited to be able to hear that. I didn't get to hear the single yet because I was waiting for the full promo to come out, because just like with the new Armored Saint album, I like being able to hear the album first before I hear the singles, and just being able to go back that way, because I love that album experience. But once I get to check that out, I can't wait to be able to hear what you guys have done in Fates Warning. The previous Fates Warning album is easily one of my favorite albums of the 2010s, and I just can't wait to see what you guys have done with this next album.
Yeah, this one's great. It's great too. There's a lot of good stuff on this too, man. This one, I don't want to give away too much, but this one also is diverse, and it's got a little bit of everything. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, that's so great. I think that's a good note to be able to end on, too. I mean, there's so much ground covered with Armored Saints, so much to look forward to coming up with Fates Warning as well, too. And, with that, thank you so very much for taking this time to be able to talk to me about both bands coming out with the new Armored Saint album, Punching the Sky, and the new Fates Warning album, Long Day, Good Night. I can't wait to hear that. And I appreciate you taking the time to be able to give me your input and thoughts and everything that's going into this. I mean, this was an absolute pleasure on my end.
Oh, great. Well, my pleasure too. Thanks for the conversation, Josh, and thanks for the time and helping spread the word and everything. And appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. Before we are done wrapping things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Did we talk about the stream thing?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Well, this is a cool thing we're doing, and this is, again, the only way we're able to really connect with people is by doing this live stream. We're doing this on October 10th. It actually starts on October 10th, but it also runs all the way until November 9th. So you can buy a ticket to watch us perform. And we're playing in an empty club because it's still in Los Angeles. You can't have an audience. So we'll be in an empty club, but we've got video cameras recording the audio, and we're live streaming a show. We're playing a full set, includes 4 new songs, and this is going to be available from October 10th all the way till November 9th. It's only $10, and you can watch it from the comfort of your home or on your computer screen or on your TV or whatever. I mean, this is, since we can't go out and play anywhere in the foreseeable future, this is the only way we're connecting with people. And to celebrate the release of the record, October 12th, we just wanted to do something, and this is the best thing we could come up with at this time with the current situation we're all living in. So far the response has been great. A lot of people, I mean, no one can go to shows, so trust me, it's an alien situation. It's weird. It's bizarre, uncharted territory, whatever. But this is the best we got right now. And hopefully fans will come out and go buy a $10 ticket and check it out. And you can rewatch it too as many times as you want during that month as well. So, I mean, I hope people come out and check it out. There's also like some other bundles available for people who want to buy we have exclusive merch, for instance, for the show and signed CDs. But people can go check it out. The website is Armored Saint. That's one word. ArmoredSaint.veeps, VEEPS.com. And all the info's there. You got to sign in. You got to make an account, create an account, sign up for it. Doesn't cost anything. And that's it. For $10, you can watch Armored Saint play live and as virtual live as you can get. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be cool.